Hey everyone, this is Randy. Welcome to this segment of E3 Minutes for Life. I'm standing here on the Chicago River near downtown Chicago, and I'm just amazed every time I come to Chicago. I've been here a few times, not many, I've been here a few times. I'm amazed at the architecture here. We were here a couple of years ago and we actually took a architectural history river tour of the Chicago skyline in the city of Chicago. And one of the things that they talked about on that river cruise is how through the decades that Chicago has existed and these huge buildings have been built and constructed, how they've worked to make sure that the architecture is distinctive and not necessarily that it all looks the same, but that it all holds to this great history of architecture in Chicago. You look over my shoulder right here and you can see a row of 4 buildings, 2 new ones and 2 old ones interspersed. You look over to my right and the reflective building is the Trump Tower. Right next to it is a building that was built in the early 1900s. And one of the things that I noticed as we went down the river and I listened to the guy talk, and I might not have caught it if he hadn't pointed it out, but was how they complement each other. They don't seem in contrast to each other, but they don't look all the same. And he even pointed out several buildings where there was maybe a new building or 2 put near an old one, and it would actually have architectural features that would kind of pay homage or pay honor to that older building that was next to it in some way. And when you look at your organization, I think we can kind of take a lesson from that. I think that as we look at the growth and development of organizations over years and maybe even over decades, I talked to a guy earlier this morning that said his company is in its 79th year. As we look at that, I think it's always necessary to make some changes, but there's times when we have to look and say, what are we changing and why? And what do we need to hold on to? So when you look at part of the things that are in a company's, down through the years is their heritage, the things that made them who they are today. Maybe it was a significant point in time, a turning point in the business. Maybe it was a time when they moved into a new building or the second generation took over, whatever the case may be there. But those are things that actually makes this organization who we are. Other things are just part of the history. They were a system or a process or something we did back down the road that was necessary at the time, but really we don't have need to hang on to it. And yet when we try to make changes, we almost always have team members who just don't want to let go. And so as you look within your organization and as you plan for the coming year and long-term planning 3, 5, 10 years from now, consider which things you want to hang on to, the milestones, the small victories. Maybe it was even a setback that you had to come back from. And let those things remain part of your history. Teach them in your orientation process. Talk about them year to year. Celebrate anniversaries of those things. But the other things that are just part of the history, be willing to discard those and move on from them. I mean, obviously they had a value. They had a reason. They served a purpose at the time, but they're no longer relevant to make you who you need to be going forward from here. Hope this has been helpful to you. I appreciate you joining us today on E3 Minutes for Life. We'll see you next time.